Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a huge story that's making waves across the country. And honestly, it's one that could affect a lot of people in ways we might not even fully grasp yet. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's unpack this. All right, so let's talk about the recent news from Washington. The Trump administration has just ordered a pause on all federal grants and loans. Yes, you heard that right, a complete freeze. This isn't just some minor hiccup. It's a sweeping decision that could disrupt a whole host of programs that millions of Americans rely on every single day. We're talking about education, healthcare, housing assistance, disaster relief. The list goes on and on. And the implications of this move could be pretty staggering. Now, here's the thing. This memo from the Office of Management and Budget, which oversees federal spending, states that this pause will be effective starting Tuesday. The administration claims they're doing this to review all grants and loans to make sure they align with President Trump's priorities. You might remember some of those priorities from last week when he signed executive orders that ended diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. So it seems like this is part of a bigger plan to reshape the federal government, and it's happening at lightning speed. But here's where it gets really concerning. The memo explicitly includes a freeze on funds for foreign aid and non-governmental organizations. That's a big deal because the U.S. is the largest single donor of aid globally, dispersing around $72 billion in 2023. This means that life-saving drugs for HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis, as well as crucial medical supplies for newborns in countries that rely on U.S. support, could be at risk. Just think about that for a moment. We're not just talking about budget cuts, we're talking about potentially costing lives. And while the White House assures us that Social Security and Medicare payments won't be affected, there's still a lot of uncertainty. What about healthcare programs for veterans or low-income individuals? It's a bit murky, and that's where the anxiety starts to creep in. People depend on these programs, and when they're left hanging in the balance, it creates a ripple effect that can be devastating. Let's not forget about the nonprofits out there. They're already sounding the alarm. Diane Yentel, the president and CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits, has highlighted how even a short pause in funding could lead to catastrophic outcomes, like halting research on childhood cancer cures or closing suicide hotlines. These are real, tangible services that people rely on, and the impact of this freeze could be felt in communities across the nation. Now, think about state and local governments that depend on federal aid for everything from highway construction to school lunches. For many states, especially those that voted for Trump, this aid is a lifeline. Places like Louisiana and Mississippi could see significant turmoil as a result of this freeze. The memo doesn't even exempt disaster aid for areas that have faced natural disasters recently, which is just mind-boggling considering the promises made during visits to those areas. And here's where the political drama kicks in. Democrats are pushing back hard against this move, calling it unlawful and dangerous. Senator Patty Murray and Representative Rose DeLauro have expressed serious concerns about the consequences this could have across the country. They argue that the order is unprecedented and could lead to chaos for millions of Americans. And let's be real, they're not wrong. We're talking about missed payrolls, rent payments, and a whole lot of uncertainty for people who are already struggling to make ends meet. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Democratic leader, has also weighed in, emphasizing that the administration doesn't have the authority to halt spending that Congress has already approved. This is a classic case of the tug-of-war between the executive and legislative branches, and it's playing out in a way that could hurt a lot of everyday people. On the flip side, you've got Republicans like Tom Emmer who are defending Trump's actions, saying he was elected to shake up the status quo. And sure, that's a fair point. People voted for change. But at what cost? It's one thing to shake things up, but when it starts affecting the livelihoods of millions, we've got to ask ourselves if this is really the change we wanted. And here's the kicker. The U.S. Constitution gives Congress control over spending matters. Trump believes he has the power to withhold funds if he disagrees with how they're being spent. That's a slippery slope, folks. We've seen this kind of standoff before, like during the longest government shutdown in history, when Trump tried to redirect spending to border enforcement. It led to chaos then, and it could lead to chaos now. So, what does all this mean for you? Well, If you're someone who relies on federal assistance, whether it's for education, healthcare, or even food, this is a moment to pay attention. The landscape is shifting, and it's crucial to stay informed about how these changes could impact your life and the lives of those around you. As this story continues to unfold, we'll be keeping a close eye on it. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. How do you feel about this freeze? Are you concerned about the impact it could have on your community? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.